The evening light in Savannah has a way of its own. It doesn't just fall, it lingers, soft and golden, slipping through the heavy drapes of Spanish moss that hang from the live oaks like lace curtains in an old cathedral. On my wide front porch, that light settles gently on the heart pine floors my husband, Thomas, refinished himself back in the summer of '78. It warms the white wicker rocker that creaks just enough to remind me I'm still here, still breathing, still the mistress of this antebellum house on East Jones Street. I was sitting there that evening, the way I have most evenings since Thomas passed 15 years ago. A tall glass of sweet tea sweated on the wicker side table beside me, 2 packets of Splenda, a thick slice of lemon, just the way I like it. The ceiling fan turned lazily overhead, pushing the thick July air around without really cooling anything. The outdoor television, mounted discreetly in the corner so the neighbors wouldn't complain, murmured the evening news at a volume only I could hear. This was my hour. After a lifetime of cooking supper, grading papers, washing uniforms, and keeping everybody else's world turning, this 1 hour belonged entirely to me. The screen door slammed so hard the glass rattled in its frame. I didn't turn my head. I knew the sound of those boots on my porch boards. Travis Whitaker, my son-in-law of 8 years, strode in like he was walking onto River Street on St. Patrick's Day and the whole parade was waiting on him. Behind him, my daughter Emily struggled with 4 plastic grocery bags from Kroger, the handles cutting into her wrists. Her shoulders were rounded, her eyes fixed on the floorboards as though she were apologizing to them for existing. Travis didn't bother with hello. He marched straight to the side table, snatched the remote, and killed the television with one decisive press of his thumb. "Game's on, old lady," he said, voice thick with that coastal Georgia drawl he thought made him sound important. "Porch time's over. Go inside." The silence that followed was heavier than the humidity. I felt it settle over the porch like a wet wool blanket. I could hear the ice shifting in my tea glass. I could hear Travis's breathing, short, arrogant puffs, as if shouting had earned him the right to the very air. And I could hear Emily in the doorway, adjusting one of the bags so the eggs wouldn't break, saying nothing. I waited. Just 1 heartbeat. 2. I waited for my own daughter to speak up, for her to say, "Travis, don't talk to my mother like that. This is her house." Or even just, "Hey, let Mama finish the news." But Emily only shifted the bags again and disappeared into the kitchen without a word. That silence from her cut deeper than Travis's bark ever could. Something inside me, something that had been shrinking for years, quieted completely. Not anger, not even hurt anymore, just a cold, clear certainty. I rose slowly. My knees popped like dry kindling, a sound that used to embarrass me but now felt like punctuation. Travis was already sprawling in my second-best wicker chair, kicking off his work boots, reaching for the cooler of beer he kept on the porch like it was his personal tailgate. I walked past him without a word, past the grocery bags Emily was unloading, past the kitchen where the peach cobbler I'd baked that afternoon still cooled on the rack, my recipe, my ingredients, my electric bill. I went straight to my bedroom at the back of the house, the one with the original wavy glass windows and the 4-poster bed Thomas and I bought the year we turned 40. I closed the door softly, no slam, no drama. In the bottom drawer of my dresser, behind the folded heirloom linens my mother had given me on my wedding day, was a stiff blue folder closed with an elastic band. My fingers knew exactly where it was. I pulled it out, sat on the edge of the bed, and opened it under the glow of the bedside lamp. There it was, the deed to 218 East Jones Street, Savannah, Georgia, recorded and filed at the Chatham County Courthouse in 1998, paid in full. Owner of record, Celeste Marie Harper Whitefield. Sole owner, no cosigners, no tenants listed. Next to the deed was a manila envelope containing the latest statements from my financial advisor downtown. Thomas's life insurance had paid off the mortgage. My teacher's pension from Chatham County Schools, 35 years of service, came in steady every month. On top of that, the small portfolio of blue-chip stocks and municipal bonds my brother helped me set up in the '90s had grown quietly but handsomely. The most recent quarterly statement showed just over $1.2 million in investments, plus the house itself valued at $1.8 million in today's market. I wasn't rich by Savannah society standards, but I was comfortable. More than comfortable. I could live the rest of my days without ever touching principal, and still leave something substantial to whoever earned it. For 8 years, every utility bill, property tax, homeowner's insurance premium, grocery run, and home repair had come out of those accounts. Travis's truck payment? I'd co-sign the loan when they needed help getting started. Emily's credit card for household expenses? Supplementary on my account. Internet, cable with every sports package known to man, streaming services? My name on every contract. I'd done it out of love, out of habit, out of not wanting to rock the boat. But boats sink when you keep adding weight without asking who's steering. I closed the folder, slipped it into my largest purse, and took out my phone. It was nearly 9 o'clock, but I knew one person who would answer. Celeste? Andrew Sterling's voice was gravelly from years of courtroom battles, but warm. We'd known each other since the 80s. He handled real estate law downtown. I processed deeds at the courthouse before I retired. It's late, sugar. Everything all right? I woke up tonight, I said quietly, watching the moss sway outside my window. I need your help filing an eviction. A pause. Then, come by the office first thing tomorrow, 8 sharp. Bring the deed and whatever proof of residency you have. I'll be there, I said. And Andrew, send someone professional to serve the papers, someone who doesn't flinch at shouting. He chuckled low. I've got just the young man, Roman Cruz, sharp as a tack, calm as a Sunday morning. I hung up, set the alarm on my phone for 6:30, and slept better than I had in years. Morning came with the smell of jasmine drifting through the open windows. I showered, dressed in my best linen suit, the pale beige one I wore to funerals and christenings, and drank coffee on the back piazza while Travis snored upstairs and Emily tiptoed around the kitchen trying not to wake him. At 7:45, I walked the 6 blocks to Andrew's office on Broughton Street. Savannah was already stirring, tourists taking photos of the squares, delivery trucks idling, church bells practicing for Sunday. Andrew met me at the door himself. We sat in his wood-paneled conference room that smelled of lemon oil and old paper. I laid the deed on the table like a winning poker hand, then slid over the investment statements and a printout of the last 4 years of bank transfers, $184,000 in direct support, not counting utilities and taxes. 4 years rent-free, I said, no lease, all expenses on me. Last night he told me to go inside, old lady. Emily said nothing. Andrew's eyes softened, then hardened. Georgia law gives you the right to terminate a tenancy at will with 30 days' notice. We'll serve it today. Personal service required. He slid papers across the mahogany table. I signed where the yellow arrows pointed. My signature still steady after all these years. Celeste M.H. Whitfield, in the same looping cursive I'd used for 35 years at the recorder's office. Roman will serve by 10, Andrew said. Then we wait. I nodded. And, Andrew, I'd like the utilities transferred out of my name effective today. Internet, cable, water, power, everything. I'll have them reconnected once the house is empty, and freeze the supplementary cards. He raised an eyebrow but didn't argue. Consider it done. I spent the rest of the morning at the historic Savannah Foundation bookstore, sipping coffee and flipping through books on ironwork and garden design. My phone stayed silent until 10:17 a.m., Emily calling. I let it ring 3 times, then answered. Mama? Her voice was high, panicked. There's a man here in the suit. He handed Travis some papers. Travis is yelling so loud the neighbors can hear. What is going on? Put me on speaker, I said calmly. I heard shuffling, then Travis's voice roaring in the background. Tell him to quiet down, I said. Then read the top line of the document out loud. Silence. Paper rustling. Notice to quit premises, Emily's voice cracked. Mama, it says 30 days to vacate? That's correct, I said. The house is mine. You've been guests for 8 years. Guests can be asked to leave. Travis exploded in the background. I held the phone away from my ear. When he paused for breath, I spoke again. "Emily, tell Travis the shouting stops today. The notice is legal, the deadline is firm, and the utilities will be suspended by end of day. If he wants internet for his fantasy football league or cable for the Braves, he can pay for it himself. My money, my rules, and the rules just changed." I ended the call. By 2 o'clock, my phone lit up with texts. "Card declined at Publix, $127 for steaks and beer. Internet not working. What the hell, mama?" I didn't reply. I checked into the Bohemian Hotel on River Street for a few nights. Quiet room, king bed, view of the water. I treated myself to a spa pedicure, bought a new linen dress at a boutique on Whitaker Street, and ordered shrimp and grits from room service while watching the cargo ships glide past under the Talmadge Bridge. For the first time in years, nobody asked me what was for supper or told me to go inside. The 30 days passed like a slow Savannah summer. Travis raged, then bargained, then threatened to sue. Andrew's letters were polite, firm, and final. Emily called every few days, voice smaller each time. I answered only to remind her of the deadline and to suggest she open her own bank account. On day 28, Roman texted, "Moving truck scheduled for day 30. They're packing." Travis tried to argue adverse possession. I reminded him I've lived here the whole time. On day 30, I sat at the Fountain Cafe in Forsyth Park, watching toddlers chase bubbles while the moving truck backed into my driveway 4 blocks away. Roman sent photos: empty rooms, scuffed floors, holes in the walls where Travis's 75-inch TV had hung. Keys returned, locks changed, house secured. I finished my coffee, walked home slowly through the squares, and let myself in with the new key. The house smelled stale. Beer, takeout containers, unwashed laundry. I opened every window, every door. The cross breeze carried out years of someone else's life and brought in magnolia, river salt, and possibility. I spent the next week cleaning, not angrily, methodically. Baseboards scrubbed, refrigerator emptied and bleached, rugs beaten on the clothesline in the backyard like my mother used to do. I hired painters to freshen the porch ceiling in traditional haint blue, a color meant to keep evil spirits away. It felt fitting. I also met with my financial advisor. We moved the bulk of my investments into accounts that required my signature only. No more supplementary cards, no more co-signed loans. The house title stayed solely in my name, and I added a revocable trust with clear instructions, only to those who treat me with respect. Emily came to see me 6 weeks later. She stood on the porch in the golden evening light, thinner, eyes clearer, carrying only a small purse. "Mama," she said quietly, "I filed for divorce. I'm renting a little apartment off Abercorn. Nothing fancy, but I pay my own rent now. I got a full-time job at the hospital doing medical billing. It's steady." I poured her a glass of sweet tea and handed it to her, without lemon this time, her preference. "Good," I said. "I'm proud of you for standing up, for yourself this time." We sat in the wicker rockers side by side, watching the moss sway in the breeze. The ceiling fan turned lazily overhead. The outdoor TV stayed off. For the first time in years, the porch was quiet enough to hear the city breathing, and my own heart answering back, steady and sure. I was home, truly home, and nobody, not ever again, would tell this old lady to go inside or touch a penny that wasn't freely given.